Let's roll. Here we go. Not just different leagues.
For many months, our minds and our brains were focused on one thing, the return of college football. We got our taste of its return last week, but now as we recap the events that transpired over this past weekend, we get to see instantly which fan bases have a reason to be happy and which ones don't. As with every week, we had rising stars, deflated expectations, and groundbreaking upsets. Through this week, we were handed one of the most shocking results we've seen in a very, very long time. Kent State has won a football game. Fellas, welcome to the current year. Let's see what else awaits. You know, maybe Genty Ball did deserve the Heisman. I think we all knew that his departure to the NFL was going to leave a hole in the Boise State roster. What we didn't know is that it would have the depth of a black hole. The gift of a preseason ranking might have done you more bad than good. You had to live up to expectations that you simply couldn't fulfill. Not only did you outright lose, but you got your bottom spanked the same color of your field. In the process, we figured out the difference between Boise State and Arizona State. Sam Leavitt is really good. Maddox the Madman, yeah, he's just kinda there. It doesn't help when you have to desperately try to do everything for the team because the run game entirely departed to the NFL. But whatever made him special last year stayed in last year. He got so rattled during the game that he fumbled the football by getting tackled by the air. The entire team and staff on the sideline looked lost. Letting up a 45-yard touchdown off a fake punt exemplifies that. It's like Penn State all over again, except it's somehow even worse. This version of the Broncos are less like Iron Horses and more like My Little Pony. But somehow the 30-year-old men who watch that show have more of a dignity than the Boise State fans who watched this entire game. They were waiting and waiting for some light in the dark, but all they got was another missed tackle against Byron Brown. So this is what the Pac-12 of the future has to look forward to? The group of 6 never sounded any better than it does right now. Group of 5 playoff contenders are dropping like flies. It's only going to be a matter of time before they let an unranked one play in the damn dance. South Florida gets to hang their heads up high as they get their first ranked win in almost a decade, and Alex Golish, part of the Heupel tree, managed to build something huge in the process. This team of all teams could be the one to contend for the playoffs and by extension, troll the absolute shit out of the scaly bastards next week by breaking their hype train before it begins. Are we looking at another 2007? These two teams are all too acquainted with each other, as the last time they faced off was ironically the last time they were on the field. The previous season was yet another example of the mid-tier status the NC State program has. They come into 2025 with the only expectation being Dave Doeren's departure from the program. They can take the results from tonight as good or bad news based on said expectations. Safe to say, as long as CJ Bailey survives through the year, the quarterback issues will at least be kept to a bare minimum. He may look like a Tom and Jerry episode in the pocket, but at least he's moving forward. Said outcome cannot be said with the rest of the offense. Everyone else moves as dull and lifeless as before, and without KC Conception to bail them out on various drives, the offense moved forward with less speed than a forklift holding Mark Mangino. It was clear to anyone with a functioning brain that State had the talent fee on their side, but terrible offensive adjustments and red zone IBS confirmed that they're just about as same as they were previously. Luckily for them, East Carolina had some of their own offseason shenanigans that prevented them from being the same team as you faced off against before. The only pride left for the Wolfpack is to get a shred of dignity fighting for third place in the state of North Carolina. Shutting down the run game was little issue, but giving up more than 350 yards through the air goes to show improvement from previous just isn't there. Terrible play calling towards the end of ECU's part gave way for NC State to win it in the most NC State way possible. Doing nothing. It's the same thing on repeat. Mid-season, mid-coaching, mid-program. But too good to fire Dave Doeren for it. Your only hope is that he retires or you guys have a bad enough season where you finally pull the plug. You know as well as I do that he's attached to the program otherwise. This would be a good time to bully Rutgers for a piss-poor defensive squabble against the Bobcats of all teams, but bullying Rutgers for anything football-related would be like calling Florida State a terrible football program. Like, no shit, it's low-hanging fruit at this point. Getting ready for another season of Athon Krakatoa is never easy, but despite the pregame outlook, he actually looked pretty strong in the pocket. 252 yards through the air with the additional benefit of no turnovers. Is a potential retribution arc for Krakatoa in order? Perhaps, who knows at this rate. Despite the Scarlet Knights pulling away early, this didn't deter Brian Smith and company from attempting to fight back. We've seen shades of what Parker Navarro could do, as Timmy Chalamet once told us, as he certainly showed it on the field in this one. By the end of the brawl, he amassed stats through the air as even to Krakatoa, on top of a hefty run game too. but you can't win games as an underdog in a one-man show, and while the attempt was great, it was futile in the end. No doubt there'll be a reckoning force in the MAC, but sometimes, even with an effort as good as you had it, ref ball will still get your ass in the end. This does give some sort of wake-up call to the defense of the Scarlet Knights, which was butchered everywhere. The offense has shown signs of life again, but if the defense struggles to stop a runny nose with a plug, it could be yet another long year for Greg Schiano. He's used to this position at least, so the expectations of bouncing away from it are at least small in comparison. Having a week like this to prepare for conference play does you good in waking up the defense ahead. Keep up the fourth down conversions, and there's a possibility this season could have something other than the couch awaiting you. Well. If it isn't our old friend from the best 3-9 team in history, Scott Frost. His return to college football was about as climactic and entertaining, but also agonizing as you would have expected. UCF's quarterback situation was unnerving at best, hell at worst. The resulting outcome is one of the worst examples of offense you've ever had to witness. It's one of those games that's not even worth being put on a Thursday. The 8th day of the week would have been more fitting. You could attribute that part to Jacksonville State's defensive front terrorizing UCF's offense all game, but it's Jacksonville State. One without Rich Rod no less, with Gavin Wimsatt in the pocket. The fact that this is a competition is disturbing, especially when you consider that the score at halftime was no score at all. Neither team could figure out how to actually put up points. It was like fumble get him all over again, but everything was a fumble, including the coaching hires. But I guess that's the Scott Frost way. Win games by competing to their level for the entire thing. Despite being able to hit them with the constant air ball, they just couldn't figure out how to do anything with it. I don't know if you realize, but football games aren't won by how many yards you have. I shouldn't have to remind you of that, but again, Scott Frost. While Cam Fancher started, his concussion forced Taven Jackson to sub in for the remainder of the game. And it wasn't until UCF found out that they had DJ Black that they were actually able to get the jump on the Gamecocks and shatter their hopes of a groundbreaking upset. Actually, no, I take that back. It's not really that groundbreaking. It's more like a fart in the wind type of upset. Nonetheless, the Knights somehow make it through week 1 undefeated and prevail to the next. Moreover, Scott Frost actually won a one-score game. What other crazy trends are about to break? No more of those, I bet. It's moments like these where I ask myself how Wisconsin fans are able to survive and stay awake through their team's 4-hour stagnation on the field. The snail's pace their offense runs at makes for a very disturbing example of football on the field. Nothing different from what we know with the modern Luke Fickell offense, but I expected something. The quarterback situation is a horrific one, as they somehow downgraded from Tyler Van Dyke in the form of Billy Edwards. They downgraded in the form of Danny O'Neal. Once again, the Badgers found themselves victims of the all-too-hated injury bug before they could even get into a big game. Is it too early to hit the panic button, or is that reserved for when they actually get into conference play? The only reason Wisconsin managed to live to see 1-0 is because Toledo leftover DeQuan Finn still can't see an open receiver with a telescope. Watching Miami of Ohio play offense looked less like football and more like an artifact in Mysteries of the Museum. It was that far back. Just like Finn, the Badgers' offense has taken a fall from where they once were. They looked competent at the bare minimum, but that isn't saying much when the competition at hand is like a walking corpse of an offense that went 0 for 9 on 3rd down. I haven't seen a threatening Wisconsin offense since Jonathan Taylor was in the backfield. O'Neal is likely better than Locktober, but the offense is still subpar and will be looking for some sort of superstar among the abyss. If the defense performs as fundamentally sound in the future as they did here, Luke Fickell's job might actually be able to prevail. Get the cheese curds ready for week 2. A premier Thursday night brawl between two teams and coaching staffs desperately trying to prove that they're worth something. Matt Rule broke the cycle last season by taking the Cornhuskers to their first winning season since 2016. And now he comes into Arrowhead with another curse crawling up his spine. The one-score curse. It took the Cornhuskers 90 years to actually get down the field to score, and Dylan Raiola spent more time on split screen with Patrick Mahomes than highlight performances on the field. He showed more shades of Russell Wilson than anyone else. Fortunately for him, this was the same issue Brendan Sorsby was having on the other side of the field. Scott Satterfield's offense has always been lackluster, so this was little surprise. I haven't seen this little offense in Kansas City since the Broncos came to town. Speaking of which, how is it possible that a home game for Cincy got moved to a home game for Nebraska? I guess you and the administration really earned the end game here. The fans drove more than the team did. The Bearcats were given ample chances by Nebraska to get the final jump on them, but they were not having it. It was the battle of two choke artists attempting to suffocate themselves over the other one could. But which one would be the one to breathe the last breath? The answer would come to a throw that can only be described as what the fuck.
Sorsby up top in danger territory. It's picked off by Hartzog.
They'll never see it coming, he said. 69 yards passing all game, but that's the moment you decide to play hero? John Cunningham must have paid you good money to sell just as he did to sell the program's fans. That's the only way I could think of to unseal this curse, as Nebraska has managed to win a one-score game. This is bigger news than the Kelsey Swift engagement. The corn is still ripe, and the Satterfield seat gets hotter. I'm not sure what else you expected. Now this is a tank conference moment we all know and love. ACC team battling down to a struggling program like Kennesaw State in a game where anyone can win. I would say I'm shocked by this outcome, but when the main man in the pocket is none other than Robbie Ashford, we have no choice but to be unshocked. Anything at all is possible when he's on the field. I had a lot of faith in Jimmy Dicker, and it took about 15 minutes for everyone to give up on him and beg for Dave Clawson back. We had a lot of teams play to an ugly standard this week, but holy hell, man, it's Kennesaw State! They're struggling to figure out which jersey to wear in the next ass-beating, much less win a game. It's all the confirmation we need to know that Wake Forest right now doesn't give a rat's ass about football and is putting all of their NIL status into any sport besides football. How did things fall apart this fast? You went from a top 10 team 4 years ago to turning into a turd stain that even makes Cal look competent. What did y'all do so wrong to deserve this? Give credit to where it's due for the Owls. For now, they managed to exist on a level beyond D2. But as with most things, the talent fee would always come through in the clutch for the higher rated squad. Wasn't even worth the time of the sickos. Nothing happened here that made this game worthwhile other than discovering that Jimmy Dickert wasn't the hire we made him out to be. The worst part now is that you have to sit through 11 more games of this shit. The CW network has got the biggest grin on them right now, and I already know it. Wake the hell up! Over this offseason, the Baylor administration went ahead and sold the Dave Aranda hot seat following a comeback year and a winning season. Now they're looking through every yard sale in Waco to get it back. What was thought to be a season of joy unseen since the past Big 12 title has now been blown into so many pieces you can only see them with a microscope. Aranda, the so-called defensive guru, not only got blasted by SEC competition, it wasn't even the good SEC competition. It was fucking Auburn, with Jackson Arnold in the pocket. The incredibly weak coverage that they were playing all game let Arnold carve them up with no issue. Jackson Arnold just ran for another 10 yards the moment I finished that sentence. The same offense that only scored 30 points once last year came into your home turf and did that and a whole lot more. It's a performance so out of character for the Barn, you'd think they'd claim another fake national title because of it. We knew that losing Dawson Pendergrass would have some consequences, but we never saw it going to this level. One of two things is now true from this outcome. Baylor is washed and Aranda will be washing Ryan Day's car in 2026, or Auburn is good at football again. I'm not going to tell you which one it is because I honestly don't know. It's been years since I've seen a performance from them that competent. Sure, they let up broken tackles and a few scores, but they beat someone for once. If I'm a fan of the Tigers, I'm just taking the win and enjoying it. There's no guarantee you don't fall flat on your face again before the season's end. Hugh Freeze is your coach after all. We've got a lot of season left. Aranda's got a lot of problems that need to be solved in a short time frame. After all, there's never a shortage of workers at Whataburger now that it's expanded through the region.
Auburn's gonna win the football game!
Despite both of these teams being unranked, this game has all the feels and more of a primetime matchup. Part of this can be attributed to it being on a Friday, but who cares? Two highly offensive teams battling it out against each other. It's a matchup of every fan's dream, which is exactly why it's not what happened. Instead, what we got was a Georgia Tech team forgetting how to hold on to the football on the road. Haynes King spotted Deion Sanders and company multiple drives on their own side of the field because of this incompetence. Liberty transfer Kaidon Salter did what he could with the weapons around him in the offensive line that never got off the bus. The Georgia Tech aggressiveness up front paved the way for them not to get whooped despite the turnovers early. They eventually adapted and got back into the swing of things, which left us with the battle of superiority through the game. Haynes King's wear and tear by the end of it was so red it looked like it'll burn your hand off of the slightest touch. But no matter how many times he got hit, he'd do the same thing again the next play. Colorado had little answers in response. Half the guys there were waiting for Travis Hunter to get the tackle to pad his stats a little bit more. But wait a minute, he's not there! And neither is any of the ferocity of the Colorado team. This was exemplified in the final moments of the game. Haynes King just ran down your throats again, and now you have a minute and 2 timeouts to respond. They'll use a timeout at some point, or now, or maybe later. Deion, take a timeout, Deion! Take a fucking timeout!
Putting men deep, 3 men down on the goal line. Salter, no time left, has to get rid of it. Moving around in the pocket, now fires deep into the end zone, and it is incomplete, and the game is over.
Well, now I see why Deion's not at the Cleveland Browns. With clock management like that, the only professional franchise that'll take you is the Bears. Such a shame. Now I guess Kaidon Salter's jersey number can't be retired. We all know you only need to be Alamo Bowl runner-ups for such a prestigious mural. Through that foam brain endeavor, the Jackets go back to Atlanta with hopes of the ACC title looking better than ever. They've got a long way to go, but with a win like that, the potential is high for Brent Key. But please get you a center that actually knows what's going on. Finally, the moment us college football fans have been frothing out the mouths for since the game was announced. Two of the mightiest juggernauts of the college football season, between the defending national champion and the preseason #1 team in the country, square off in a Goliath showdown of epic proportions. In a perfect fictional landscape, this game fulfills said hype and is looked upon as a game of the century. But here in reality, we get whatever the hell you call this. If you ever heard of the phrase, defense is the best offense, part of that is certainly true, because there was no offense to be found here. The Arch Manning hype train derailing in the first 10 minutes all but proved the hype was based off nepotism and the talent around him. While he has a high ceiling that'll certainly show up later on, being spotted against Caleb Downs at one of the top defenses in the land did little to satisfy his confidence. Plus the everlasting fear of seeing Matt Patricia on the sideline. While the Nuts were also bringing in a new quarterback, Julian the Super Saiyan, he was good enough to keep the offense moving sometimes. But as expected, without Jeremiah Smith having a good day, offensive stagnation was what we got. But the home crowd plus Texas coaching like it's the Tom Herman days kept the Nuts a consistent step ahead of anything Texas tried to do. They shut down Arch's ace in the hole, which was running out of the pocket, and it left them in a situation where they were completely paralyzed. There's little doubt that the Ohio State defensive front left Arch completely stun-locked. In moments like these, the only thing left to do is to pray for a miracle.
Manning in trouble. Got it away. Caught, but not enough for the first.
But there's no miracles in Columbus. Who do you think you are, Michigan? So ends the Longhorns' only time as the #1 team preseason. As damaging as this is, no doubt, to the different leagues narrative, losing a non-con game on the road to one of the top teams in the country will do little to Texas' national rating. However, this could have rippling effects on the psyche of Arch Manning. That's the worst outcome for you. You don't have the blessing of a Minnie Mouse schedule to work with this time, so you better figure it out, and figure it out fast. Just remember, plastic bottles for attention, mustard bottles for results. Speaking of which... Don't worry. These aren't sad tears. They're happy. I'm happy. We have a quarterback again. He can throw on the money. It's been so long. All hail the talent fee. Just as back before the Clint Stoerner curse, Tennessee once again did what they always do to the inferior rotting oranges and beat them into the soil they stood on. The only difference being this time they did it in Atlanta. While Tennessee still has glaring issues that need to be answered, they are in a different field this time. With the one and only trade in the college football season, Nico to UCLA and Joey Aguilar to Tennessee to be specific, we now have confirmation of what the problem was all along. Don't worry, we'll get to the bad part of it later. But as for the good part, Aguilar is leagues and bounds more experience than the former. Because of that, the Tennessee offense has more shades of 2022 than it did the last 2 years. However, the defense has also experienced more shades of 2022. The stats from that year tells you how this is a very bad thing. Colorado transfer Colton Hood single-handedly shut down a lot of the Syracuse operations, but glaring holes exposed due to the injury bug or Tim Banks' prevent poop made the defense have an uncomfortably irregular game. But because of the hypo offense returning, the defensive aneurysms did little to stop Tennessee from scoring. Even when Syracuse tried to bring out the fake injuries, it couldn't stop the Vols' offense. What we do know from this performance is that Syracuse's offense hasn't fallen off a cliff, despite all the big-time losses. While it won't be a repeat of what they had last season, it'll still be one to scare opposition if Steve the Jelly Bean or Yassine Willis is hot. Despite the injuries on both sides, there's a lot to look forward to, especially if you're Fran Brown. We need that shower soon. The BO is likely enough to gag a maggot or even a Kentucky fan. The Vol fan energy is back in full force, and just in time as the Bulldogs come down in 2 weeks for a battle for the SEC's dominion. You know what that means? I'm so ready to get hurt again. I would expect if you haven't already, you should go ahead and write that thank you card to BYU for the gift they went ahead and handed you. I'd argue you should hand said thank you card to the entire group of 5, as thanks to collapses in the first week from Boise State among others, Tulane has found themselves as a G5 contender for the playoffs. Even after Willie Fritz got sent to the Power 4, Tulane has remained consistently good. Even with Darian Mensah scoring only 10 at the half against Elon Musk over at Duke, Tulane managed to keep their quarterback room as strong as ever with quarterback Jake Retzlaff. Even if this was far from his best performance, it's more than enough to beat an offensive disease like Northwestern. Just as most other transfer quarterbacks that touch this campus, Preston Stone got the same treatment and wound up looking nothing like the quarterback he was at SMU. The Green Wave defense harassed him the entire game, and he had little response in return other than throwing another interception. They gave him so much PTSD I thought Caleb Williams was playing them again. By the end of the attempted offensive movement by Northwestern, they amassed more interceptions than points scored. Normally, this is an accomplishment, but we all know this as Northwestern football. The sparkle of David Brown's entry into the program has been drained by the cold reality of scraping the toilet of the Big Ten Conference. Try to score more than 3 points when you play on Friday, and maybe you can keep that going for a little bit longer. With the BYU now initiated into the Green Wave, Tulane is likely the frontrunner for the G5 spot pending any sort of collapse through the season. With what's at stake, John Sumrall has put a target on the back of the program, and they'll have to answer with proof that they can pull it off before Sumrall's eventual departure to Kentucky. Speaking of which, it's a Kentucky fan's worst nightmare. The football season has actually begun and there's no basketball to quell the frustration said season brings. The only reason they have any motivation left in the program is because the man behind it all is the motivated man of them all, Mark Stoops. With him once again is another senior citizen transfer and Auburn's favorite Zach Calzada. Yep, he's still in college. They arrive into this game on upset alert, as Toledo's previous dragging of Mississippi State is still fresh on the mind of the SEC. While Kentucky's defense was able to keep the flame of Tucker Gleason to a minimum, defense hasn't been the problem for the Wildcats in a long time. As per the norm with them, the offense, even with Calzone in the pocket, was as uninspiring and unmotivated as you would have expected. Dante Dowdle and Seth McGowan had a good day on the ground, but because the passing game was never there to do anything, and neither of those guys are Jeremiah Love, they couldn't just span the same run play and run through the game that way. However, it was still enough to get out of there with a W. That can be attributed to the offensive line not being useless this season. However, lack of a passing game or any sort of creativity in the play calling all but guarantees that this offense is a carbon copy of the one from last year. And the year before that one. Toledo's offense took a hard bite too, and they've seemingly lost everything that made them threatening. It's hard to know what's cooked harder between Kentucky's football program and the MAC as a whole. With performances like these, I'm making a call to the Dakota schools immediately and then some. Thankfully for the MAC schools, they don't have to host Ole Miss next week. The same luck doesn't go for Stoops. We're only about 50 days away from basketball though. Florida State football. An absolute mess. A program dead in the water following the previous season. They brought some key pieces in coming to 2025, but even if it's enough to make a bowl, there's no way it comes close to the talent that Alabama has, especially when you spent the offseason dropping the rat poison needed for Bama to motivate themselves with. I've seen this story thousands of times in the Saban era. Talk shit, get hit. Thomas Castellanos dropped the fuck around material, and now they're bound to find out. Alright, well now let's check out the score and see how bad this got. Oh, I bet Bama beat the ever-living hell out of that, They did it. The Technos. No, the Seminoles beat Alabama. The Clowns have removed their shoes and the prophecy has been foretold. Norvell, you're an absolute madman. I don't know how you managed to pull this off, but they might need to reinstate your original 2024 contract after that one. Tommy C actually backed up all his talk and then some. Is this the same team? Is this the same program? In just a day, FSU went from defending Clowns of the season to contenders for the conference. What the hell is this? It's a rare oddity for you, I'm sure, but in the first time in over a year, I'm going to give you credit for something. Well done, Florida State. Congratulations on the win. Now that that's been said, there's something else I have to say as well. Even when the rules are different, the Tide always finds himself a victim of the Gus Bus. Of all people who could bring the dirt to bury the dynasty with, it's only fitting it came from him. And yes, Tommy C did this by completing 9 passes. The dynasty is absolutely dead. Your team and program as a whole is fundamentally different than it was under Saban. The strength is gone, the determination is gone, the play calling is lackluster, and the hardcore nature of every player on the team has been replaced with the rerun of Malachi Moore's temper tantrum. What's crazy is that Castellanos wasn't even trash talking. He was just telling the truth. Saban is retired and not coming back to save you from what's to come. If you're getting pushed around on the line by a tank conference team, I struggle to even imagine what's going to happen when you get to Athens. This loss brings many things: groundbreaking stats, hilarious crash outs, and a complete direct hit of the different leagues narrative. But above all else, it brings a sense of justice and balance 15 years in the making. Bama fans have been trying to convince themselves that they're still on top of the college football world. They're watching their own world fall in front of their eyes, and the only thing that can be done to quell that is to go on anonymous message boards and cry about the refs again. All that pain and suffering you inflicted to everyone else is finally coming back to you. It all starts with once again earning the prestigious award of Clown of the Week. You're a never-ending perpetual circus at this point. It may get tiring ragging on some programs, but it never gets old with you lot. See you in the Outback Bowl. Hold on, wait a second, hold on. I still gotta laugh at them a bit more. Okay, now we can continue. Coastal Carolina is finding all about how the nice guy routine doesn't equal winning football games. Tim Beck doubtless filled these shoes all too well. He may be a great person, which would explain how he's been able to stick around for so long. After a performance like this, the leash has definitely thinned out quite a bit. Good time to remind you that yes, 2020 did happen, but it was a very long time ago. Virginia under Tony Elliott has been a hopeless era of football, but it's results like these that bring some sort of will to survive back in their favor. North Texas transfer Chandler Morris is the main reason as to how they rekindled the flame of hope, as he torched the Chanticleer secondary and left no trace behind. It resulted in one of the cleanest, most well-played openers I've seen from the Cavaliers in a long time. The student section was packed and the fans actually liked the football they're seeing on the field. After all the money they spent to get here, I'd imagine it would have been good enough to get them back on track. It seems that after many years of being in the gutter, the football gods are finally giving the Cavs a break. The injury bug back to royally fucking per the usual. Unknown if it's a serious injury, but we will all be hoping for the best. What we do know is that the Cavs are far better off than they were before. And maybe this year, Tony Elliott can prove that he actually does have some sort of coaching ability. You don't want to end up like Wake Forest. So was it about that time to whip out the jet lag excuse? That's about the only way I could even think to rationalize a result like this. This isn't North Dakota State, so that excuse doesn't work either. Fresh off the loss in Ireland, you'd think the Wildcats are coming to Manhattan with some sort of will to prove themselves. All they've proven is that the preseason top 25 may have no worth at all, or that playing in Ireland is not worth it. The same lackluster struggle happened with Georgia Tech and FSU previously. Not Iowa State, but that doesn't count since they're actually good. Now, rather than just becoming coaching inept on fourth downs, they've become straight up stupid and play like that on every play. Especially Avery Johnson. Once one of the most favored quarterbacks in the Big 12 went out there on the field and played like a mobile DJ ukulele. He threw 5 interceptions, 0 of which were actually caught by North Dakota. That's the only reason the Wildcats even came out of this alive. Even if one of those picks were to happen, chances are they go into week 2 as one of the worst teams in the Power 4. You would have been better off with one of Avery's relatives, as they'd probably show as much fight if not more than the team did. This is no doubt one of the most hard-fought performances anyone has seen from North Dakota in, well, ever. But any Power 4 team that struggles to win a game like this is in for a world of hell if not fixed soon. Hell, struggling to win this game in and of itself is a loss. Whatever Jace Brown is getting in NIL, give him more. Buddy deserves all the riches because he's surrounded by rags. Get it together or die trying. That's the only way to live in the Big 12. The Battle of the Death Valleys. While not holding the same weight as the battle between Texas and Ohio State, this matchup here has major implications for both conferences and the narratives around them. Two extremely talented teams, one with a coach who is seemingly washed, and one with a coach who's never washed in the first place because he keeps losing these season openers. For those of you defensive degenerates who enjoy whatever the hell Arch and the Super Saiyan were doing, you get a real big treat in the prime time. because that's exactly what happened again here. While being two veteran quarterbacks with Heisman potential, both Garrett Nussmeier and Cade Klubnik struggled heavily against the opposition's defensive fronts. Keeping everything in front of them prevented any sort of huge plays on both sides of the football. Even if some of that is contributed by ref ball, both teams played a brawl of which defense would cave first. It was a battle of inches, and in these types of matchups, every inch is all too important. Ignoring what she said, this battle of inches edged slightly towards LSU. As in a plot twist nobody saw coming, the offense wasn't inept against the elite defensive line. It moved at a snail's pace, but it still moved. The same couldn't be said for Clemson. As in a much more insane plot twist, BK finally figured out how to stop a dual threat quarterback. The answer was in the linebacker core all along, Harold Perkins. Keeping him in charge of watching Klubnik kept him in the backfield the entire game. The run game for Clemson instantly vanished afterwards. No matter how many times they got the ball back through failed LSU drives or turnovers, the result was always the same. Failed run, failed pass, punt, or turn the ball over. Once LSU got the lead over them late, the writing was on the wall. Signed in from Tyler from Spartanburg, it's time to open up the dictionary again, for it's time to learn more about Clemsoning.
They do bring pressure. Klubnik on the move. Heaves it incomplete. Harold Perkins was closing in.
Lesson finished. No matter where it is, LSU still can't be beat in Death Valley at night. From its result, another overhyped ACC team getting kicked to the curb. With the stakes at hand for Clemson this season, offensive strokes like this, especially with the overly predictable play calling, will end in the downfall of the Clemson team and Dabo taking back to the grills. And with everything else that's happened around the country, the conference is no longer clear-cut in your favor. It's still yours to lose, but you have much less of a cushion now. As for the other side, glory be thee to the SEC. Then paying the respects to LSU of all programs and BK of all coaches on opening week, welcome to the current year. Wait a minute, we have a contributor in the ACC from the Pacific? Between you and Stanford, this is a remarkable fucking surprise. Even if this is against one of the broken shades of which the Pac-12 once was, this is still an accomplishment for Cal standards. For the Golden Bears, a lot of the answers they've been looking for on offense came from a specific Oregon transfer in I give up. I'm not even going to try that one. We'll just call him JKS. Nonetheless, his productivity through the air gave Cal some sort of hope of a future in which they can throw for more than 50 yards on conference opponents. If the receivers around him would stop dropping the football all the time, Cal's air raid might actually become deadly to several of the Tank Conference brethren. Both lines of scrimmage have slightly improved, and of which will be considered the best upgrade of all, Cal has a special teams unit now. Yeah, last year they just never had that. Improvement where necessary. There's signs of success for Oregon State under Malik Murphy, especially since they play a Mountain West schedule upcoming. But against this much improved Cal team, the only thing that was meant to happen was once again getting cucked by the Pac-12 conference. JKS is a weapon Cal will be looking to keep for a long time. After everyone else transferred away from the program, maybe this one will stick around for more than 1 year. Hold out hope for a season that isn't capitalized by a win over a 5-win Auburn team. And this is why you're not allowed back in the Power 4. How is it that Jimmy Dickert isn't there anymore, but you're still being coached by him to do this? I'm not sure anyone expected Jimmy Rogers to come in and immediately destroy everyone on the schedule, but this is Idaho. We can only write off the Oregon game last year so much. They're not a good team and they shouldn't be hanging with you. I know the Washington State fans understand that above all else because Ryan Leaf of all people was in the commentary booth telling you so. The coaching staff was as indecisive with their game plan as they were with choosing the starting quarterback. While Jackson Potter took a whopping majority of snaps in this week, it could be someone else the following week. Despite the yardage from him, the offense was extremely limited because guess what? The run game doesn't exist. A total of 3 rushing yards of the entire game, and yet somehow you still pulled it out. This is partly due to Idaho having a quarterback whose passing game amassed 33 yards. Stats like this make me believe we treated the Big Ten West too harshly. The defense played well enough to help them survive, but it's hard to say that they're thriving because holy hell they're weak offensively. Mike Leach is one more boxed up inside run from coming out of his grave and unleashing another ran on you. We'd all know he want to. Just like last year, despite being in the FCS, the Vandals make a guest appearance on the Chaos by taking another team from the Pacific to the wire. Why were they removed from the FBS to begin with? Questions aside, Wazoo has some serious problems of their own to manage if they want to get included back in the series, because you don't get the luxury of Power 5 coverage, and you're on the CW. Well, Hawaii, it was fun while it lasted, wasn't it? Beating up a dead tree brings joy to anyone without many wins. But now you have to face someone with the pulse, and while this result had plenty of implications, it proves that Stanford might actually go 0-12. Credit to Arizona for getting back some sort of life which they lacked previously. There was a lot of uncertainty with Noah Fifita without McMillan the bailout card being around to save you. Let's just say that after this performance, it's still a concern. Barely over half of the passes were completed in this game, which is more than enough to beat someone with a little pulse like Hawaii, but this resurfacing in Big 12 play could seal Brett Brennan's fate. To get an idea of how bad of a situation Hawaii was in, the quarterback which they started was limping on one leg from the start of the season. So once they came here into this game, yeah, we all sort of figured that was inevitable. Great job showing up for 1 week though. We will all remember you for your heroics against the trees. With the rust now off, the Wildcats are seemingly much better off than before. The talent and recruiting is starting to take shape, and before you know it, some of it might actually do something significant in the stretch. The best thing for Arizona fans would be to approach the upcoming slate with cautious optimism. You have what it takes to exist, but that's only if you actually choose to do so. Do like Kansas did last year and beat someone you're not supposed to for funnies.
I understand his line. Carinha dele, mano. A carinha dele. Quebrou ele em 0,01 quebrou. Caralho, tô matando muito.
I can't really say for sure, but it's this result right here that makes me believe that Brent Pry's fate is all but sealed. The game went about as I expected, just not in the way I was predicting it would go. From talent composite alone, no doubt the Gamecocks were a heavy favorite in this one, but the final score did not do the game justice, as despite the 2-score victory, it felt like a close game all the way through. Newly introduced hire Sam Sefkis did well to shut down Lenore's Sellers by the legs. His arm was a different story, as putting any Virginia Tech DB in a 1v1 with Nick Harbor is a death sentence. Post the first drive though, Tech's defense did a great job keeping the offense to a minimum. The only issue is whatever sort of expectation you had for a Hokie offense got cooked like it was already Thanksgiving. Kyron Drones had a lot of potential over the offseason and still does, but it's so late that I don't think anybody will ever see it. The offense in total was a complete shitfest. Nobody had any sort of clue of where they were or what they were doing. They lived off the explosive plays and they barely got that. All of their points came off of field goals and a safety. Pathetic. It was another Virginia Tech classic of being so close to glory, but so far from actually touching it. More of these results in 2025 would have any Tech fan crashing out like Shane Beamer did. And while Beamer Ball did get your ass, you'll have a shot at redemption at home where Diego Pavia comes to Sandman Town. Start out 0-2 and holy shit, it might be a rough one. The Cocks survived, but a lot of the hype around Sellers and the offense has fallen off. There's still a lot of time for adjustments, but they'll need to be made quickly. You'll actually have a fan base counting on you this season, so don't get flaccid now. The newly instated version of Catholics versus Convicts, a top 10 matchup taking place in a neutral site stadium for all to enjoy. Yes, Miami Stadium is a neutral site. If you thought Brian Kelly not folding on the big stage was a shock to the system, just you wait until you see what happened here. Not only did Miami and Mario Cristobal go blow for blow with a title contender, but they actually managed to hold their offense back. Anyone who watched Miami last season knows that it was a season of Cam Ward or death. With Carson Beck now the guy for the team, they don't have the luxury of optional defense. Mario went hard in the portal for defensive depth and it showed in this ball game. One of the favorites for the Heisman and Jeremiah Love was boxed up the entire game by Ruben Bain and company, leaving Notre Dame to have to throw up-and-coming CJ Carr out into shotgun. The results were there, but they were unsatisfactory considering the run game was gone. With the home crowd on their side, plus the fact Carson Beck threw, get this, no interceptions, the result came down to a deciding field goal with only a minute left to go. Their trademark Cristobal clock management, they nearly f***ed that up too, but the football gods decided that today, they'd have some mercy for you.
They have not trailed tonight. What a kick! Good! From 47.
And with the Sean McDonough voice crack to add the final touch. Miami gets a top 10 win at home and solidifies their spot among the best of Tank Conference. Let it be known that if this conference continues to have the success they're having, they might actually get out of said tank status. but we're not that far along yet, so we'll just have to wait until the postseason to see what happens there. For Notre Dame, the good news is that this is a non-conference loss, so they're still in the running for the conference championship. How many clowns can we fit into 1 week, you ask? Too fucking many. We all had doubts about this one, and it took maybe 10 minutes for everyone to be proven right. College and pro football are nothing like each other, and we got extreme confirmation of that Monday night. What? You mean to tell me Bill Belichick will come into the college game and win a title like he did with the Patriots? What? Everyone around you knew that. You just wanted to sink into a hole and avoid the truth. And here we are now, as Jordan Hudson's wife and his team is getting utterly embarrassed by a mid-tier Big 12 team on national television. Gio Lopez looked weak in the pocket and wasn't able to complete a pass further than 2 yards. And just like last year, you were spotted a quarterback injury in the very first game. Once Max Johnson returned to the field, the result was instantly the same. The offense was completely shut down by the Hypnotoad defense. Your defense looked exactly the same as it did last year too, and I don't even know how that's possible when a paper fence is a greater defense than that. The game got so bad that they put the dog on the commentary booth. He likely went and took a dookie on the field afterwards. TCU learned their lesson when they let Deion Sanders win his first game back 2 years ago. That wasn't about to happen a second time. As long as Josh Hoover is out there in the field, the Hypnotoad offense will never be denied. You guys remember a couple of months ago when I told you about the implications of the drama between Belichick and his girlfriend? If he started losing, the noise around that and a whole lot more would spawn. Guess what? It's here. And good luck getting rid of it. You don't walk into a circus expecting a business meeting to happen with suits and ties. You got what you wanted and you best guarantee you're gonna live with it. And Tom Brady can't play quarterback for you anymore, so don't even try that. Well, I believe that's everything for this week. Here is my top 25 for the week. And I'm sure anybody in the comment section right now or watching this video will have no complaints about it. I'm sure there'll be nobody to complain about it. While you're here, I wanted to tell you all that I greatly appreciate the support on this channel, as we have now made it to 20,000 subscribers. I can never say how grateful I am for this accomplishment. I'm looking forward to seeing where this channel goes, so we'll end things off here unless there are any objections.
Not so fast, midget! Not so fast!
The college football world did you right, Lee. For the main man behind such a prestigious and historic tradition as the one you gave us, we were all hoping the college football gods would serve you well. And that's exactly what happened. A perfect run for Lee Corso in his final appearance on game day. I can't think of a better way to go out than that. To all of us college football fans over here and everywhere else, rest easy, legend.
Larson for the win.